Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Board of Health meeting for Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. Just a reminder, we are being recorded. We'll do roll call, please.
Tom Fickner here.
Chris Gilmore here.
Colleen Straponi here.
Jack McClellan here.
Alan Greenberg here. Gang's all here. Moving on to good and welfare for the public.
I have nobody online.
And no one in the live audience. All right, so we'll move on to new business.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Health Agent Colleen Straponi has to leave for another meeting, so if we could skip over to 5 old business.
We can. All right, so moving to 5 Harrington Street follow-up. Colleen, please.
So I spoke with Michelle Delma regarding on the board's request for additional testing, and she's declined. She just said that they do not have the staffing to do that for that length of period of time, and she feels that the readings would be no different as far as anything registering, whether it's on the property line where that's where we were, and that's the readings that we took that day. In my initial report, I reported that we were on the property line. And I know that the property owner, Mrs.
Vincelet?
Yep, thank you, had requested a reading at her deck. She said she doesn't enjoy the property, her property at the property line, but her deck is back even farther. I explained that to Michelle Delmar, and she said that that would be unnecessary, because if it didn't register at the property line, it's not going to register even farther back at the deck. I did speak with the business owner yesterday about the questions that the board had about the true hours of operation throughout the week. I guess Mr. Bellin said that he heard the trucks as early as 7 a.m. I spoke with the business owner and the manager, Amanda, and she said that that is impossible. She said that the keys are locked in the office and the office doors don't open until she opens them at 8 a.m. So nobody has keys for the trucks. And also I spoke with the business owner and the property manager. They advised me that within the next 30 to 45 days that they will be ceasing classes on Saturdays. They will no longer have classes on Saturdays. He did say that in the future they may go
During the summer.
He didn't even say that. He just said that during the future that may change. But within the next 30 days, they have 2 more classes, and then they will not be operating on Saturdays at all. They have adhered to stopping the hard stop at 4 p.m. They also, I guess the question about the time frame for the use of the simulator, she said it's about half and half. Half of the day is inside and the other half of the day is outside. The horn blowing is not going to stop. It's not consistent. They test before every class, the horn gets blown. And so if they have 4 classes a day, the horn's going to get blown 4 times. Then on top of that, if they have after a classroom, if they have a test, or some of the students are taking the test, that's part of the testing, is testing the equipment, the horn blowing and the air brakes. They have to test the air brakes. That's required by Mass Registry of Motor Vehicles. And that's what that woman that we spoke with at the registry also let us know that. So the horn blowing, the simulator, the additional testing, stopping on Saturdays, and starting before 8 a.m. impossible. And the other thing too is, just so that the board is aware, that when they went for their site plan reviews with the planning board and then with the Board of Selectmen, there were no restrictions placed on this business as far as hours of operation.
Well, yeah, that's correct. From the state, a few times, there was no site plan review requested by the planning board because the planning board didn't feel one was needed.
Right,
Yeah.
but there's no hours of operation either. Select board, when they
yes,
went
that's-
before the select board, they did not set hours of operation. They do have them on the website from 8 to 4. The business owner told me that they have a hard stop at 4 PM.
I think you'll find, if you go back to that meeting, you will find the question was asked, what the hours of operation would be, and I believe the gentleman at the time made a statement. That's a gentleman no longer with the school.
Alec is, Alec is the son of the business owner that I'm speaking with right now. The father owned the business, the son worked for the father.
Now, what I'm getting at is the gentleman that appeared before the planning board, I believe is the gentleman that had initially started conversations with us,
Alec,
and I understand he had moved on.
yes,
So what I'm just saying is that the gentleman who appeared before the planning board originally, who is no longer, my understanding, with the school locally, responded to a statement, I believe, that was asked by the planning board on the hours. And he did give a statement back. I'd have to go back to that meeting as to what those hours would be. And they may not have matched exactly what they had been doing.
mm-hmm. Well,
I have
I
to
think
check.
at the very beginning of it, there was acknowledgement by the business owner that they were not stopping at 4 PM. Now they are stopping at 4 PM.
Which is great, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there was an initial statement back and forth between the two as to what the hours were going to be. And again, I'd have to go back and relook at that meeting. I believe it did not match what they had been doing initially,
Mhm.
based
Well-
on what they stated would be the hours of
Yeah.
operation. That's
So now it's 8 to 4.
Yeah, which is great.
And like I said, then within the next 30 to 45 days, they plan on stopping on Saturdays.
And I don't know if I might have missed it. I was kind of jotting notes. With regard to the simulator part of it, now, have we determined what type of usage the simulator is doing to help defray any outside activity? Or are they two
It's-
separate things?
There's 4 hours of simulator class inside and then 4 hours outside of class.
That's the breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what she said. It's 4 in and 4 out. And they will continue to have outside classes. They have to be able to actually drive the vehicles,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So the simulator is not going to take the place of that.
Now, was there a set schedule with those 4 hours of simulator and 4 hours of driving, outside driving, meaning are they doing the simulator always, say, in the morning hours, driving in the afternoon, or could it be mixed up
She didn't say. She just said that it's divided 4 and 4.
4 and 4? If we could at some point, I'd just be curious as to how potentially regular that schedule is. Maybe it's not, it might be sporadic, depending how students come and go. You might have a couple that have to go out, a couple that are inside, couple outside, so it's balanced all the time.
I'm gonna guess that that's probably how it is.
Yeah.
Because of limitation of how much equipment you have.
Correct.
So there are probably people, like you just said, operating the vehicles, and there are other drivers using simulators
Right,
at the same time.
right.
Um,
The idea behind it was to try to gauge whether or not those simulators were possibly taking away any noise reduction for any period of time during the course of the day. But if they're actually always running both simulator and trucks all day, there's probably no difference. And I believe the number of trucks they run is limited in and of itself, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe 3 or
I think I
4,
heard
that's
three.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you only have so much room to.
There were 3 there's been 3 in the
3
yard.
regular.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
curious if, but that's probably accurate.
Like I said, I'm guessing just
Yeah.
because of how much equipment and how much space they have to operate. You can only run so many rigs, and
Correct.
simulators are probably limited. They might only have 3 simulators.
Right.
And each class size can vary.
Oh, sure.
Some classes are probably full and some classes aren't, depending on,
Yep.
how things are going out in the world.
Yep.
But they've, They've done a decent job. The only question I have, and I don't want to stop you, Tom, if you're not
No, go
done,
ahead.
is I want to make sure that I understand that they're stopping Saturdays in 30 to 45 days.
Mhm.
But it sounds like they're reserving the right
Yes,
to use Saturdays
in the
in the
future,
future. Okay.
possibly, was
Yeah,
what,
I
is
just-
what the business
So
owner said.
only for the summer. They're,
He didn't specify, because I said to him, is this just for summer hours? And he said, no.
oh,
The classes enrollment probably
Yeah,
fluctuates.
fluctuates.
I think, well, I kind of got the feeling too that they kind of want the weekends off themselves.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said, I kind of got the feeling that they want the weekends off themselves.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the feeling I got in speaking with the office manager and the business owner, was that they were looking forward to having 2 consecutive days off.
Nice.
Joyce, any comments,
No.
questions?
I just, it's business and it's gotta move on and I think they've been accommodating to us and to them and, and my opinion is that, if they come in again and keep complaining, I think that they need to be, we need to say, no, I'm gonna say this, but we need to say, you know what, we've really gone through the whole process with you and everything is the way it is, that you perhaps need to get an attorney with them. You need to be integrating with them, not us.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it has been said from, I'll call it the neighborhood committee. A representative has stated that it's a 65% improvement.
Mhm.
So I mean, we definitely have made some progress. I
Right.
hope,
Right.
I would hope that nobody has to go to the point of some kind of litigation.
Right.
I would hope that we can continue dialogue if needed.
Well, it just seems to me that, I guess, and maybe I'm one of those people that say, hey, you know what? We've done everything that we can do there, other than coming out and doing something. We've done everything, I think. So I think that that's what we should stand on, is that we have answered your questions. We have tried to do what you needed. They've been answering to what we've had. They've shut this off. They've done this. They didn't do that. And quite frankly, they leave at 4 o'clock. So get a grip, guys and girl.
No,
I would have to differ with that view. I don't think we've done everything. If you recall, the last meeting we had the one representative from the neighborhood there.
Yeah, right.
The discussion specifically had to do with testing. Now, I know DEP's response
Right.
for their position, which is fine, but is that the end all be all for what can be done for testing? I indicated that maybe if the DEP was not able to do anything further, would there be a local effort to implement some sort of testing in the line that was discussed at the last meeting? I know you weren't here for that meeting, but.
Right.
Local testing, what do you mean?
So in the discussion we had the last meeting, based on what the initial responses have been from DEP, my view was that it did not appear that they would be looking to do anything further, that they'd be happy with what they did. And you've confirmed that. I indicated at that meeting that quite possibly would we locally want to take on an effort if the DEP were not able to continue being involved in it, to pursue the testing parameters that were discussed at the last meeting.
Who would pay for that?
Well, it would be an effort by Board of Health. I personally would be happy to be the person who would do it. Obtain a data logger and log data on the device?
You might want to consult with town council, but I don't know that you can use operating budget money for,
I'm not
Something
using
like that.
operating budget money. I'm using my personal time.
what equipment you're using though.
Well, therein lies the question. I know we have currently, I don't know if we still do or not, we had on loan to us a device.
That's something completely different, Tom. That's a pure tone. That doesn't record.
That's strictly a pure tone. So, and
Yeah.
that's what was alluded to at the last meeting, I think. It just takes an instantaneous reading. Right, it doesn't
I'm not
log.
familiar with the piece of equipment.
I understand. It doesn't, it basically just picks up sound. It doesn't record, it doesn't log.
Talking about the piece of equipment that the DEP used.
That's, yes, Jack, are you familiar with the piece of equipment I'm referring to?
No.
The device I looked at a couple of weeks ago in the office,
That's the pure tone.
that's only the pure tone.
Yes,
Well, I thought there was another.
no, that's the
Just
pure
the pure
tone.
tone.
Yeah, that's a piece of equipment for the noise ordinance bylaw.
So we had nothing from DEP.
No,
In our
That's
possession,
not
no.
what, that's not what we kind of,
Again, I can understand part of what you're saying, except for the fact that we have put out all our effort, and it ends at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, I mean, I was there walking around when, and quite honestly, I mean, and I know that I tend to be sort of a Pollyanna. I mean, it didn't really seem to be anything that was so dramatic. I mean, I can understand if it was keeping you awake at night and waking you up early in the morning and doing, but when I heard it,
Sounds like you're talking about our rooster friends.
yeah, back in
Back to
the
Russia,
day, yeah, the first started. But it just seems to me that they're over the top with this, that, you know, it's like, come on, guys, get a grip and, you know,
well, you also have to look at their the living situations. Both of these homes that are currently affected, they're retirees.
right,
They're not working during the day. If they were
Right.
working during the day, this would probably be a non-issue. But they're home during the day. They use their property during the day.
right.
They're retirees.
but the thing is that perplexes me here is we stood out there on the property line. We weren't turning it towards Route 16. As I reported before, we were dead on to the property. The other property is even farther away. If we didn't record noise here, it didn't register here, it's not going to register over there. That was the determination made by the professional who is trained to use that piece of equipment. So,
I think the gist of it was, and I tended to agree, is that the one isolated 5-minute test just isn't a good example of data testing. Just from my own experience in the world of analysis and data, one quick little thing, just like I said before, personally doesn't cut it. So my view is any testing that we do to try to accommodate additional data on a regular basis over a period of time, doesn't have to be a long period of time, multiple testing points, different times of the day for maybe during the course of a week, is now constitutes an envelope of data. Now you have multiple data points to go by to kind of show versus just one little 5-minute test. That was the point of the whole discussion at the last meeting, was the testing and what could be done to actually create an actual, I think it was termed an audio metric study, if you will.
but the thing is the class was operating. The noise is going to be the same.
Again, it's to try to meet guidelines of what I personally feel would be a better set of data parameters, a more complete set of data metrics. I don't know if anybody else in this room has any experience with data metrics, but I'm just saying from my perspective and what I know in my industry over the years, I can understand the viewpoint of gathering a more complete, rounded set of data points. That's all.
But you would have to be trained how to use that piece of equipment.
Well, potentially, it could be data that could be acquired, and whether I acquire it on my own and it's reported that way, saying I am not an audiometric specialist, but this is the data obtained, maybe the residents would be sufficiently happy with that. They may not be looking for a certified tester to take the data.
But
I
if
know
the
the-
board was gonna take further action based upon this data, you would probably need to have a professional record that data in order for the board to be able to enforce any type of, confinement to their operation. That wouldn't stand up in a court of law.
Oh, well, you're kind of going into the next 5, 6 levels down. I'm talking about initially trying to simply obtain the set of data metric points. Where that then takes us would have to be determined. It might end up stopping right there because the data points that are acquired in this little more extensive format might say, hey, there's no issue here. But if it did, then now you're looking kind of down the road a little bit.
The thing is that, again, we were there. I don't care if it was for 5 minutes or 5 hours. The school was operating. The trucks, we saw them going round and round and round. There was, there wasn't any, regardless of whether or not they were notified beforehand or after the fact. What we had to set was the noise in the neighborhood first, because you need a basis in order to compare it to the noise that may be coming from the driving school.
And-
So
and
that's-
and that test point was, I believe, it was on the property line, which would have put it in the wooded area.
Correct.
So I believe that the actual baseline should have been down in the yard because that's the property area that's actually used by the residents, not the woods. So your base, to me, the baseline is not accurate.
But
The
this,
base should have been for ambient noise in the yard, that's all,
this was a
What yard?
professional.
Which yard are you speaking?
whichever
about?
yard for those residents.
Oh, you mean you wanted to go into their yard?
Absolutely. Because you want to test, the whole idea of this was to determine the difference in what they normally experience in their yards on a daily basis when the school is not operating versus what they're experiencing in their yards when the school is operating.
But the thing is we were in the yard on the property line. So if nothing, no noise registered from the school where we were, how could it possibly register even farther back?
So what I'm asking, and you're telling me you were in the woods.
Right there on the screen is where Colleen was, right here. Here's the school up here.
Yeah.
Here's Colleen at the yellow dot. Here's the property of Ben Slat. Colleen was right here with
So
DEP,
you were in off the yard area, like X amount of, how many?
closer to the driving school.
You were closer to the driving school.
Right.
Right, so what I'm saying is you put that tester actually right in their yard, right in, this is their home, right here.
But if it didn't register here,
Listen, Tim.
there was no noise registered here. There's gonna be even less.
What was the noise there? 0? There was no bass,
We did a source on and a source off noise right there.
and what was the source of?
I don't remember what the register was.
Or something, and then it went
And then
5, 9, I think it was.
something like that, yeah.
So I'd just be curious, to even less here, if there is a difference. That's all I'm saying. I think I don't think we're seeing the same points. So my point is, I'm willing to take the step to perform this data. If we don't want to consider it formal, that's fine. Call it informal. I'm willing to take the step to implement it, to do it. And I can report back the findings.
Now, why don't we do this? Why don't you investigate what you need or what you feel you're gonna do on your own? And then we'll discuss it further. Just so that the board and the public knows what your procedure is gonna be.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're essentially setting up a hypothesis and an experiment and results. I forget what we called that back in.
You could basically be doing a test procedure. That's basically what it is.
So,
No hypothesis involved.
okay. I'm, if you, like I said, as long as we discuss it with the public before you perform it,
Sure.
just to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And then maybe run it by legal before we, because I mean, you're representing the board.
Yeah.
So let's just make sure we ask some questions. I mean, it might even be advised to ask the town administrator before we even go to town council.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to research the equipment, the procedure, what your methodology is going to be.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. Joyce?
You know, again, I'm coming from a different spot.
Oh, I know. I
So
understand.
it just, to me, I mean, I don't know. I'm just coming from a different spot, and it seems to me that you get used to it, and it's not that, it wasn't that bad when, and I walked over there. Did you walk over there and
I've
hear
been there
it
multiple days.
and heard it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's why in my estimation, and my hearing isn't the best. I was actually in the yards.
yeah.
And I was there before the school operated. Was there for a good 45 minutes. And then when the school kicked up.
Okay, so like I said,
So I heard the differences. I had a
Right, yeah.
couple different times during the day in my own ears. But the whole idea of the data was to take the subjectivity of hearing out of it, which was another major point of the discussion at last meeting. Take what I heard, what you heard, what Pauline might have heard, take that out of the picture and put it into pure raw data and see what the data reports. That was the whole idea behind it. The data is what the data is,
Mhm.
right? Subjectivity of hearing is what your hearing is, what my hearing is, what your hearing is. That's all subjective.
I appreciate the fact that you would like to, on your own, pursue this further.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna be, I mean, you're a member of the board, so it's almost impossible not to represent the board in
Oh,
doing
for
this.
sure. Oh, absolutely.
So, like I said, if you came up with the equipment, your methodology, and then we, at minimum, run it by the town administrator where, and again, I think it needs to be presented so that the public knows what you're doing.
Oh, correct, because it's been in the public agenda for quite a while. for sure.
See, what we get there. And, after Jeremy, it may have to go to legal before the board acts, before you act on behalf of the board.
Mhm.
Because we've discussed these things before, whether it was going on an early morning visit to, listen to roosters so that we could try to, help some neighbors that were experiencing some early awakenings and things like that.
Yeah.
So just because Joyce or myself or you were going out on your own time, so to speak, we're still representing the board.
For sure. Yeah.
So as long as we do it the right way,
Yep.
I'm fine with that. The other thing that you might want to think about is, what can these neighbors do? These neighbors that live on residential land that abuts commercial land, what can they do to bridge the gap? If the representative from the homeowners group has said that there's already been, before the things that Colleen just mentioned, there's already been a 65% improvement. There's obviously going to be more of an improvement with the latest developments.
Saturday's coming up.
So
Yeah,
what can the neighbors do? Are there things the neighbors can do to bridge that gap, to come, I mean, it's a team effort. The business, the homeowners, the Board of Health, we're all kind of working together to resolve this.
Well, sure, there's potentially things the neighbors could do. They could put up big walls. Maybe there should have been a better berm put up at the back end of that lot up there at the business before they went into operation. That didn't happen. I get it that they were approved to be a business. I get the whole point about their license to be there. They're permitted to be there. I get it. The neighborhood was there long before that business ever got there. Okay, so I would say have a little more respect for the neighborhood. This isn't a 50-50.
But it's not a 50-50 because like I said, they've already come, according to the neighbor's representative, they've already come and it was acknowledged that it was appreciated. I'm just asking, is there something that they can possibly do to make it better?
Sure, they could put up big giant walls, they could put up big giant trees, they could put up big
Okay,
soundproofing nets, sure. That was a suggestion you mentioned way back months ago, which personally I thought at the time was a little bit out of line to suggest that a neighbor start building something up on their property because this business went in. Before we even got into the business making an adjustment on their end. Now, it's just too bad going way back to the beginning that this site did not request site plan review. Because this might, I'm not saying it would have been caught, might have been caught, might have been assessed, we don't know for sure. I know this is something that Pauline's working on with planning. I don't know if policy has changed as far as site plan reviews, if they're gonna be automatic, anything out of the non-standard. I don't know if you know or not, or things, but it's just too bad it didn't all kind of start out the right way. And we're
Well,
fighting the back end.
I would like to, if you could point it out to me where I made those statements.
Sure.
And I will respectfully say that I think I have been nothing but respectful to these people.
I'm not saying you have been respectful.
No,
You made a recommendation that there's something along the lines of something they could do on their property to help mitigate the problem, which I thought at the time it came out was a little bit premature. But, you know, that is what it is. That was the viewpoint. And I respect the viewpoint. I didn't agree with it, but I respect it.
Well, I just so that we're not going back and forth. I do recall asking questions about and asking questions if the openings in the berm could be bridged with some sort of a fence or foliage of some kind.
Sure.
But I
And that's on the part
remember
of the
that
homeowner.
on the business side.
The reference was on the reference in the part of the homeowner taking steps.
Well, I think I'm bringing that up now.
No, you initially had made reference to the homeowner taking steps, not the business.
Okay.
But nonetheless, we can
I
go back
will
and
research that.
I do,
You have time
when
to
I
do
was
this?
walking, out there,
Health
when I was
agent,
walking in her yard, I
Depends on how long.
she didn't answer. I knock on the door and then that front door, back door, down in the yard, down in the thing.
She has one.
She has a lot of trees. And very soon now, all the trees are going to be having leaves, and I would expect that
I
might
don't think they're done.
diminish the noise vibrations and stuff like that.
now, not to hold up Colleen, I know Colleen has a commitment, so you've kind of given your report at this point, so if you need to head out to get to that next meeting, I'm
Right.
fine with that.
I have 10 more minutes.
With regard to the trees, they're not full trees from the ground up, as far as foliage goes. All the foliage on those trees are at the top.
Right,
There's a
but
huge
that's what
line
she
of-
was saying, that that was coming right into her second bedroom. I mean, her second floor.
Right.
You know,
It-
where that would have acted to me as a,
For those, I guess, for those summer months,
Yes,
when
yeah.
that foliage
right,
is up,
right,
but then the rest of the time when that's gone.
right.
So for a period of time, that might be true. Yeah. But not to belabor it, I'll look to kind of pull a little something together and
Please.
present it. And
All right.
I did have one other question just in
Oh,
general,
please.
which I don't know if we got an answer to. I think there was an ask to reach out to the Department of Public Health.
I reached out to Department of Public Health and they in turn sent me over to DEP to Michelle Delmar.
She's the noise specialist. Her and that woman that were there with me that day, this is their area of specialty.
We weren't sure. The only came out of reference from what the resident who appeared at the last meeting had indicated with an effort they had going on at their school, which was different because it was internal, it was inside versus outside. So at that time, they dealt with the Department of Public Health, and that was the group that helped them out. We just weren't sure. And the ask was simply to reach out to find out if this would apply to their domain, and obviously it doesn't.
It was Mr. Cooper from the DPH that contacted Michelle Delma, because this is her area of specialty, her and the other woman that were there. The other woman that was there is trained in that piece of equipment. That's her area of expertise. Noise mitigation is Michelle's area of expertise. Both of them were there that
Now, I
day.
believe that actually came up with a discussion with Tom Belland, that the Mass Department of Public Health came into the school and helped them evaluate what they had going on at the school.
Yeah, that's what I just indicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good? For now?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you,
very much,
Colleen.
Mm-hmm.
Your time now.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we can move on to number 7, health agent updates.
Please.
So we've started the summer season with the food trucks. We are booming. We have, oh yeah, Fridays and Sundays, you know where to find me. We are also conducting our restaurant inspections, nothing extraordinary. You know, there's really no concerns there. We are working with one particular property regarding the placement of their donation dumpsters. They're, quite frankly, in my opinion, too close to the restaurant, and I've asked for them to be moved. They will be moved by Friday. And then I'm going to speak with the property owner again. She already asked the business to move the other dumpster that, quite frankly, is too close to the restaurant. At some point in time, I know we discussed it, maybe we can put on the agenda for the dumpster regulations, and maybe the board, we can talk about, further discuss amending them for some ideas that I can talk with the board. It's not an agenda item right now, in the future. Other than that, that's all I have.
Questions?
No, that's good.
And, do we need to coordinate any of that with the fire chief?
Anything over,
6 yards.
and Jack put together a lovely list for the chief, and we sent it over to the chief. So the chief is aware of all the dumpsters in Mendon that are over 6 yards. And they can reach out to them. We're going to still continue to monitor them, make sure that their lids are closed and whatnot. If we have any concerns, we'll absolutely report them to the chief. So Jack put that list together.
Mhm.
So the chief is aware of those dumpsters now.
That's good.
Good.
And if we want, you know, if the board chooses to amend the dumpster regulations, and we can check with the fire chief to see if he wants to include those amendments for the 6 yarders.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Where are we? Go back to new business.
New business, yes.
All right. So we're going to the new business BOH minutes. We're going to, the first one is March 11. I had nothing. Joyce and Tom, feel free to speak up.
No, I read them this day, actually. Have something?
I'll defer to you, my dear.
I don't have
Oh,
anything.
I
else.
don't either.
Okay.
This
Oh,
one.
oh, okay.
So
The Queen Jack, nice job.
I see that sticky note there. I'm getting nervous.
That's a general state. That was just about having to start the meeting early because Colleen had.
Okay. I didn't know if it had. Sorry. So can I have a motion to accept the minutes for March 11, 2026? please?
So move?
I'll make the
Second.
motion. To accept the
Oh, yeah.
meeting minutes, you can move it.
Okay. So move.
All in favor?
So am I.
Choice I?
Alan, I thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're moving on
That
to
would be
the
backwards.
minutes for March 25th, 2026, please. I have nothing.
Happy.
Only just a couple little tweaks.
Yep.
Fourth item on the agenda. The second paragraph, page 1.
Each one?
That sentence starting with Colleen said, I think was probably missing some verbiage maybe, just didn't seem to,
Colleen said she will have Colleen
I think you were
or
deferring,
Kathleen.
were you deferring to Kathleen?
Oh, yeah, Kathleen.
Speak, right?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think it
Kathleen.
probably was meant to
Oh.
read, Colleen said she will defer to Kathleen to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can make that correction.
After all, I'm an English major.
That's all right. That's why I look for you.
Maybe just a general, this is just a general, not a correction per se, but I think as we're talking about the Harrington Street item, I don't think it's proper to be referring to it as a nuisance.
No more noise nuisance.
Well, because we haven't determined that. Right?
They're complaining about it, so that's.
Yeah, if there's a noise, I would say it's a noise issue, it's a noise
Noise issue.
concern. But I don't think from a board perspective, the word nuisance, I don't think we should use that at this, because we haven't determined that. We've been trying to see if it is.
Change of issue, noise issue.
Well, that's what I mean, but I'm just saying,
But I
we
mean,
might have
I
had it on that agenda.
It, because they're complaining that it's a nuisance, and so isn't that how you work that until it's updated and.
But there's actually a category within noise, and you can, Colleen might correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is something, when you define something that gets to a point, it becomes a noise nuisance whereby a local board could act on it. Until it's actually defined as an actual nuisance, it's a complaint, a noise complaint, it's a noise issue, it's a noise concern. But to say it's a nuisance, I just hesitate doing that because we haven't classified it as a nuisance. I don't want people to think, oh, this, the board's saying there's a noise nuisance. Now, it might have been just phrased that way on that agenda, which is why that's there. I'm just saying, as we continue to talk about this issue, I don't think nuisance is the proper word to be using until it's really been classified, if at all, if it even gets classified as such. That's all. That's my thought.
You can do noise issue, update, noise issue. Thoughts, noise issue, noise complaint,
Concern.
noise concerns.
Fine with me.
Okay. I'll think of a word.
Think of a word. The other words fit. And then page 4, agenda item 6, B, wind waste.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, fourth sentence.
Yep.
Karis returned. I don't know if she retuned, but she might have. I think she.
Every two. Yeah.
Tuning her up.
Wow, you are good. You are good.
That's it. Oh, the last thing on this particular meeting.
Same page?
Oh, sorry, page 5. At the end of the 9th item on the agenda.
Yep.
Before we actually adjourn the meeting, there was actually something that Joyce did ask about related to scholarships. Looked like that got omitted from.
All right, so Joy's conversation in number 9.
Yeah, it was right after we did 9 and just before we were going to adjourn, Joyce asked about scholarships, if we had received any for the
Okay.
year. There was, I think the response was not yet, and you were going to check with the schools. So
Okay.
it's
I'll look into that.
just a general reference to it. And we're going back up on page 5 on the 8th item on the agenda. Yeah, sorry, I missed something. Just to confirm, I know when we spoke of it at the time, I used the vendor National Grid. And I think you would confirm, Jack, it was National Grid. But did you ultimately determine it's actually Eversource?
It is Eversource on the
It
card.
is Eversource.
Yep.
Okay, that's why Eversource is there. Okay, yep.
Where are you?
Oh, originally when I spoke to that, I said National
Oh,
Grid,
okay,
and that was the belief, but
okay.
Jack
Yes,
must
no,
have
it's changed it
ultimately-
too.
it's actually
That's
Eversource.
right, yeah.
yeah, and, second gate, the second sentence there where it says the second gate, that quote is leaning against it.
That is, yeah,
It's actually, it was just not in place. It wasn't leaning, it was actually in the.
not in place. All right.
And did they fix it eventually? Have they fixed it yet? No?
No, I don't think it's ever supposed to be there. I think that was gate at the originally at the very front of the street.
And I just, something else coming back down to the 9th item on agenda, same page. Second to last sentence of that item.
Yep.
It was actually on the numbers of the vaccines. It was from 17 to 12, removing 5 versus 17 to 11, removing 6.
I'm a little dyslexic.
Good attention to detail. Wow.
I screw up on purpose to see if he catches them.
Give him.
It's a test.
What was that?
It's a test. I screw up on purpose to see if you catch it.
If it had been a real one.
Yeah.
Didn't make you happy.
Hey, you know, I'd be happy if I didn't have to do anything.
Any-
Colleen, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Colleen. Have a safe trip.
Safe trip.
I'll be talking to you.
All right,
We love it.
Have fun.
Anything else on March?
Now,
25th?
are you going?
Joyce,
No, I'm going to finance committee right now.
No, but
Tomorrow.
Joyce,
What, honey?
meeting.
Sorry.
Anything else on March 25th, folks?
Nothing else, no.
All
So
right,
those
can
are
I-
just all,
Yeah, no, that's
nothing to hold them.
that's attention to detail. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to accept the meeting minutes for Wednesday, March 25th, 2026.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Tom, I.
Joyce, aye.
Thank you.
Alan, aye. All right. Moving on to April 8th. I have nothing.
Your turn, Joyce. Any issues?
Oh,
No?
Only one, might have to hold this one, related to page 2, 5th item on the agenda.
Yep.
Third paragraph.
Chairman Greenberg?
Is that,
Chairman Greenberg?
yes,
Yep.
starting with that.
Yep.
That was a little more involved discussion and conversation than is being presented. I know minutes are not supposed to be verbatim, they're just a reference.
Yep.
But in listening back on that meeting, I think a couple more pieces of content
Okay.
could probably fit in there a little bit, just to
Sure.
round out the paragraph.
Yeah.
So maybe I can work with you.
where are we?
Page 2, third paragraph. Oh, you're on page 3.
Oh, page 2. All right.
That's
All
what.
right. Oh,
This
okay.
description, that was a very intense discussion, not to say intense, but a very involved discussion on that topic. And there were some points there, I think, that probably should be added, not to get extensively elaborate, but just to add a couple of points there to round out the thought that paragraph was covering. So I'll,
Sure, I'll wait.
unless you folks want to, it's up to you. That's just my take on it.
Personally, I would say where it is recorded, whatever you and Jack decide to add, I know is gonna be accurate
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
can,
make
we
as a recording, so
Yeah.
I think we can vote to approve them
do the motion to
Right.
incorporate.
and
Yeah,
then.
additional edits.
Add more detail to that area.
Yeah, we've done that before at previous meetings.
Yeah, so
Okay, you folks are great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to hold them.
No,
Fine with me, yeah.
The tape, won't- the tape
You
doesn't
trust
lie.
us.
The tape doesn't lie.
You trust us. No, the tape doesn't lie.
The recording doesn't lie. All right, so
So,
I'll have if I can have a motion to approve, April 8th, 2026, with the acknowledgement that more detail will be added to, that paragraph, on page,
2 of 5.
yeah, on.
The fifth agenda item.
Page 2.
Yep,
Agenda item 5.
got it.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor?
Tom, aye.
Joyce, I.
Alan, aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for putting some more time into that. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. E.L. Harvey Service Contract Extension.
All right, it's that time of year again. We are going to our first extension for the E.L. Harvey contract. And as usual, we have to send a letter saying that we are interested in extending the contract for the first time. We need a board vote for Alan to sign on this agreement.
I make motion that we accept that.
Do we have any discussion on this?
Well, it doesn't seem like it needs.
Everybody's, no, I just want to make sure everybody's happy with, we got going on.
Yeah, I mean, we are gonna do the extensions, no
Mhm.
debate on that. That's fine with me.
Okay, just want to make sure. Sometimes I jump forward too fast. All right, so we'll have a vote, to, sign the 1-year extension, as written.
I'll make the motion. We sign chairman signs the letter to extend the contract 1 year.
All in favor?
Tom, aye.
Joyce, I.
Alan, aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Good thing I know you're right.
Left-handed, my husband's
That's-
left-handed, too,
Yeah. Someone
That's
told me.
that's an indication of creativity.
right?
Left-handed people are in their right minds.
Yes.
There you go.
That means I'm a crazy guy.
All right, so
All right.
now,
Okay.
Number 6.
yeah, we're gonna go to Board of Health, Scholarship Award recipient.
All right, so out of the 9 applications, all 3 board members have voted. In tallying them up, we do have a clear defined winner. And the winner is Tyler Cavallo of 26 Bellingham Street. He is from the Nipmuc Regional High School. And the board members have voted, and he was 3rd out of his class of 114. And I believe he is going to the University of Connecticut or University of Amherst, Massachusetts for his school choice. And he is going to be majoring in biology.
Yeah, I absolutely love, I mean, his paperwork was kept going and he did this and he did that and he was doing this. I just loved everything he was doing and, but I said, I gotta go over every single paper and all the paperwork and do it and it was just, I just thought he was sounded like a really nice young man.
Yeah, I think we had a good. They were all
Yeah, I was happy that we got so many.
young people and
Yeah.
it was very encouraging to see that group of people,
Yeah,
took the time to apply.
Now, was that a unanimous decision?
It was 2 out of 3.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, just in general, this was probably the toughest year, I think, from my perspective in reviewing scholarships that I've had.
yeah,
Because in my view, just about every one of them
had a good point.
could have had a shot at a scholarship.
And then when I was redacting the information, not to interrupt you, but when I was reading them and redacting, so no personal information, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this kid's great. Oh my God, oh my God, I'm like,
And I,
kudos to those students, my God.
Yeah,
I
we
would
should
actually-
They all did, working outside of their classes and doing.
Really tough choice for you guys to make one decision,
academic accomplishment, but I just want to shout out to
all of
their, not only the candidate, not only the applicants, all the applicants, especially the winner, Tyler, but to their families, to their parents,
Yeah,
parents,
definitely.
guardians, and siblings. There's a great group of young people coming
Yeah.
up, and it's probably only a small representation of what is being produced. So it's great. Great.
Yes, thank you very much to all the applicants for taking the time to apply.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
very tough choice.
Right.
I did not envy any of you make that decision.
Extremely.
I was amazed at how many of them have worked outside and worked and helped other people. And I was like, yay, bravo.
Yep.
You know,
So congratulations to Tyler Cavallo.
Yes, Tyler, congratulations. Now, has Tyler been informed?
Not as of yet.
Okay,
This is the first time it's been announced.
okay.
So I will be giving him a call tomorrow,
Yep.
see if he can come in, meet with the boards.
All right.
Of course, his parents are welcome.
It would be nice if we could do, this is obviously a scholarship from E.L. Harvey.
Yeah,
So if we could maybe have Mike
Yeah,
Yep.
come in.
yeah, he's come fast.
Right, to present the check.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very busy, but
I know.
he's made an appearance.
yeah.
If we could line that
We
up.
can learn them all to come at
Yeah,
the
it's
same time.
it's
Sure.
hard.
Yeah.
And even if it can't be at a
Meeting,
meeting, maybe we could even orchestrate it,
yeah, another,
we're all available,
right, yeah,
type of thing.
yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah, I agree, there were so many, I was like happy to see all these people doing all
Yeah.
the things and working, you know, a lot of them were working to get their money and, you know, it's like, that's so good, I loved it.
Absolutely. We've had some years that we really didn't see a lot of interest.
Right,
I know.
Maybe even a year where we saw no interest.
right,
So it was definitely very encouraging to see everybody that took the time
yeah,
to apply. Okay, so if there's nothing else on that, we'll move on to agenda item 8, topics not anticipated within 48 hours.
I have none.
None?
none,
Good and welfare for the board.
Couple of things, but Joyce, you have anything?
I don't,
A couple of local and then a couple of national. So one was just a kind of a question for you, Jack. I know we're going to be looking at hand washing, procuring a hand washing station. And it was just a recent email Monday about filling out a survey.
Correct.
It sounded like to get it delivered,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So we're on top of that.
As soon as I got that link, click, send.
Survey monkey.
I love free stuff.
I had a conversation with our driver today, Phil, happened to see him in passing out there. And something that I just want to, remind the public, and I said I would mention it tonight at the meeting. With all that's going on construction wise out there on Route 16, Phil has had to alter
right,
his schedule a bit
yeah,
as far as time pickups. Not necessarily the street schedules, but the times he's getting to places have been outside of the typical times.
Right.
I know that, and I'll plead guilty to this. You typically know when your trash is going to be picked up on a normal basis. So every now and then I'll cheat. I know he typically doesn't get to me until 9:15. I'll be out there at 9 o'clock and get it out before he gets there. But because of this construction going on and little delays, he's found that he's not able to follow that norm right now.
right,
So we might be getting to somebody a little bit later, or might have to try to get to somebody sooner, right? Because he has to try to complete the normal route, right? So what was asked to be stressed is that if people could really, really, really
Yeah.
try very hard, please have your trash out at curbside by 7 a.m. You need to do it the night before, please do.
Yeah.
But please do not,
complain if it doesn't get picked up, if you don't get it out there in time.
well, we all have the right to complain. I won't say don't
Yeah.
complain. But I will ask you to just try to help the process with all that's going on. Just Phil's not able to kind of
Right,
stay on that rigid normality of schedule.
must be driving crazy.
Well, as you can see, as of today, because I had the same conversation with Phil last week
Yeah.
about the 7 a.m., I put an alert on our Board of Health webpage
good.
Okay,
that says trash and recycling cars must be out by 7 AM, because that's what the contract says.
right.
And it says, a reminder that trash and recycling must be out no later than 7 AM on a collection day. Different drivers, different routes. You may be the first pickup, you may be the last pickup. You will be picked up if trash is recycling is out by 7 AM. Driver will not go back if it's not out by 7 AM. Because a lot of times, Phil will go by a house, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, they didn't put out their trash yet. They call E.L. Harvey, E.L. Harvey calls Phil, and Phil has to go back and get it. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's fair. It's not right for E.L. Harvey to go back.
No.
Follow the rules. We please beg of you. Everybody do it. Everybody will get collected.
I know you have had, because of that conversation, you have had some people call the office about it.
Yes.
Yeah, so just so people are aware, and I said to Phil, like, I don't know if there's anything additional. I mean, the posting on a website.
Yeah.
Right, is great. I don't know if there's any additional alert mechanism that we can impart to remind people. Like, one thought that came to mind, and it may be out of the realm to utilize it, would be that sign that the highway department has to flash up periodic message as a reminder to residents,
Trash.
please have trash out by,
Like, yeah, that.
I think you do it remotely.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
key in a message period. I don't know if that's an option.
Sure. I don't see why it's not. If it's not in use, I don't see why not.
You know, I think it just sits down in front of highway there.
Yeah, they do move it up to the intersection here every once in a while when something's going on.
Just a
That might
thought,
be possible now.
yeah,
if it's possible, as an external.
Yeah.
yeah.
You can do that.
You know, I don't think we need to get into,
It's gotta be
First time.
such a pain, just even with all the stuff that's on my street.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotta be crazy, trying to pick up and trying to, do with stuff.
so I just told Phil I would bring that up. So
Yeah, I think that's
thank you
a
for,
good point.
Yeah, but I talked to him last week, and when I saw him this morning, it jogged my memory to put an alert out. But it is on the main page. It is on our Board of Health webpage. And it is a frequently asked question.
Yeah.
But again, like Tom said, unless we're hand holding, I don't know what else to do.
Well, we get spoiled because of Phil. And because he's,
Yeah, he's such a good guy.
he
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
he usually runs his routine the same way.
yeah,
And unfortunately, right now, he's unable to do that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
He has to so
and he has also been very good about helping
Mhm.
Outside of what might be the norm to
Correct.
accommodate.
Yeah.
He does that.
Yep.
So I very much appreciate.
absolutely, we're lucky to have.
And just on the lines of website, thank you, Jack, for doing an update to our related to trash about the senior discount.
I don't know how I missed that, because it was on the
Of course.
website.
I had a resident that brought to my attention, we did not have anything up on our website about the senior discount program.
Okay, I get a text message from someone, yeah.
Okay, so Jack jumped right on it, got boom, now it's all up there, I communicated back to the resident, hey,
When did you do that?
The day Tom told me.
like the day, yeah, that morning. It's like, hey,
So Monday?
AM, boom.
Monday?
I think it was like last Friday.
Was it Friday?
Yeah, it was Friday. It
Oh,
was
Friday,
Friday
yeah.
morning. Yeah, so, yes, it was great.
I'll text the person back.
There you go. I say,
It's the second question on the FAQ.
you made the second question. That's right. So that was all the local things. The only other two things, just a general, the big thing on the news the last couple of weeks, hantavirus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
Until that story came out, I was not personally familiar with,
right,
I had never heard it before.
No.
No.
So it's been interesting doing a little bit of reading about it.
yeah, it's very dangerous.
Apparently, there have been cases in this country that do go back a bit. Predominantly, it's been in either the western part of the country or the southwest. And it doesn't not seem to be an issue here in the eastern part of the country at all. And predominantly, it's been related to somebody getting this through contact with rodent feces,
Yeah.
urine,
Right.
right, direct contact.
Right,
A lot of it seems to be with, when people are cleaning up, so if they discover a nest of some kind, when they go to, a lot of people might be sweeping it up. What happens is that it gets in the air, so you end up breathing it in. And so that's where that contact is primarily coming from.
Right,
So the recommendation is if you're, again, doesn't seem to be an issue here, but maybe just a general point of health safety, spray down the area to wet it, as opposed to sweeping it up to create an aerosol
Yeah.
element that you could breathe in and possibly ingest something.
I was amazed that ship had so many. I mean, I was wondering, how did that happen? Because it seems like that's not where the mice and the things are.
Someone probably brought wood from.
It had to be
Disney
that,
World.
yeah, or something, but
Well,
I mean,
so my understanding is they're still trying to determine the
how it
origin,
happened, yeah.
whether it was something ship related or somebody came on board. Now, that ship had been picking up passengers from different parts of the
Right.
world. And the particular strain that they identified on that ship, they refer to it as the Andes strain
Mhm.
of hantavirus. That specific strain is known to be human to human transmitted.
Uh-huh,
Whereas the other type of hantavirus, it's direct contact with the rodent feces.
so
and
that's
excrement.
what I was thinking. It had to be that way because, I mean, you wouldn't think of rodents and things on the ship because they're really pretty
Should be pretty clean.
clean. I mean, I've been on 3 of those
Yeah.
travel things, and it's unbelievable how they're like automatons. They're cleaning, they come to your room, they'll do this, they'll do that, and it's like
Yeah.
crazy. So that's what I was wondering, like, how is it transmitting there? But it has to be person to person and
Yeah.
in that way, I guess, yeah.
And the one thing
Because
about
it's
this,
very bad.
one thing about this whole hantavirus thing that's really kind of come out is, you talk about confusions with regard to the health, how countries are handling the isolation recommendations, right? It varies country to country.
Yeah,
So for example, I think what they're saying is this particular virus has an incubation period of upwards of 42 days.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's the other
6 weeks.
scary thing.
Wow,
6 weeks.
Yeah,
wow.
that is the other scary thing about it. It's, yeah,
Yeah, you could be fined from all of a sudden.
Boom.
bing, bam, boom is right.
And so depending on the country where the passengers have gone to, a point of origins, countries are handling it differently. We have a guideline that the CDC is implementing here. I think in our case here, all the passengers that were Americans that came back, I believe have opted to quarantine at that facility in Nebraska. Or
Yes,
the
yes.
recommended,
Yes,
whether it's the whole 42 days.
42
maybe
days.
not.
I think that they have to do it that
Yeah.
long.
So that's,
Because you need to be able to be totally clean
Yep.
before you can go out and among people and stuff. And even then, if
right.
you're smart, you stay, you be careful because
Yep.
it is scary.
And there were passengers that got off that ship prior that already had left the boat before this really became a big.
Right, yeah,
They ended up in different states, I think California, Maryland, 5 or 6 different states. So they're tracking those people. And I believe they have, those individuals are isolating in their
Yeah.
own situations. So,
and that was a huge boat. Holy potato.
yeah.
That was
Um,
big.
So that was what I had on that topic. And the only other thing that I would I don't know if you guys saw the story a couple weeks ago, and this is really pretty wild. Are you familiar with the GP?
What is it?
GP.
Never heard of it.
It's the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Uh-oh.
There is a massive, I didn't realize this, there's a massive, and actually there's multiple. This is in the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and the California coast. And there's a massive garbage patch
Yes.
that exists out there that has developed over many, many years. that consists of quite a bit of microplastics that have just kind of, the way the currents work, have kind of grouped these things together. And it's almost like, you're almost looking like an island
Yeah,
or stretches of land. It was just amazing just to read about it and, to see what's involved. Part of it is, debris left from fishing vessels and things of that nature. But this has been going on for some 40,
oh,
50 type
yeah.
years anyway.
Yeah, they sure.
Is it also from ships dumping their garbage as well?
Yeah,
You have ships dumping
Yeah.
things into the
Yeah.
ocean
yeah,
and, they say, like, for example, with that particular one, if you had something, hypothetically, some debris that was tossed from the the Pacific coast of the United States, it would travel over toward Asia with the currents and come back in I think it was like a 6-week time frame. But if you had something from the Asian coast coming this way, it would take like a week.
Wow.
So it's just, so depending the way these currents work, it's just, and you're
Yeah.
talking about 600,000
Yeah.
square feet or something. It's miles of
So just-
square miles.
Yeah,
600,000 square miles. Yeah. And these patches, there's also one in the North Atlantic. There's a North Atlantic garbage patch.
huh,
And there's like 5 or 6 around the globe that these are formulating in. It seems like this Pacific one has gotten the most focus,
yeah,
and that they'll be working with the other ones slowly. But this one really has the attention of a couple of organizations. It's just amazing to kind of,
well, and I would assume ships probably have to be aware of that.
yeah.
Because I remember a story, one of my clients had a big twin engine boat.
Yep.
And he sucked up a trash bag
oh,
and it blew the engine.
Hmm.
And this boat was so big, they had to take the boat apart
Oh, wow.
oh my God.
Wow.
to get the engine up.
I mean,
So that's the damage that one trash bag
Yeah,
can do
Yeah.
when it's sucked in.
right,
So I can't imagine a ship going through that patch. So they must have to navigate around these things, just like an airplane would navigate around a bad
Yeah,
storm.
exactly.
you have
Example
to,
of a couple of pictures of what they
Yeah.
kind of look like.
you have to wonder what
They're
people are
massive.
thinking of
They don't
doing
care.
that
They don't
stuff.
care.
You know,
Massive.
it's so bad.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The stupid question is, people, is there like organizations going out there cleaning up?
Is it what?
Is there organizations going out there to go get it, clean it
There
up?
is one particular organization that's spearheading the cleanup for the Pacific one, and they're also looking to work at the Atlantic one. It's more developing, but they're,
that is so scary.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would think?
Oh, my God, it's just like,
And
what
the-
is wrong?
And the big thing about it is
Isn't even-
it's the microplastic element of this, because what's happening is the microplastics, as you all are probably aware, they get into the food supply
Correct,
of
Yeah,
the fish
correct.
that may be getting caught,
Yeah.
and then
Justin.
Yep.
you might be ingesting.
Didn't
Yeah.
somebody say they had a friend that got a test done on the microplastics were in the bloodstream?
No, but I did see a news article that I believe I mentioned,
Was that it?
that you can get tested. That there are tests available to see what you have in your body, and it takes years for your body to flush it out.
yeah,
That's provided you stop ingesting it.
Right.
If you don't ever stop ingesting it because you don't know you
No.
are,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it stays with you forever.
yeah,
Wow,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, that had to do with the PFAS,
correct, PFAS.
and I forget how many different types of PFAS there are. But there's not one.
No, I
right,
think there's like 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah, there's many.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a test that you can have, done in a lab that will tell you what you have available.
Creepy. It's all creepy. I don't like it.
All right, anything else, folks?
I'm too,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
too much of an
I'm good.
idealist.
Next meeting?
May 27th. Go back to 7 PM.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Joyce,
Alan,
I jumped the gun.
Thank you.
That's all right.
that's all right.
Ah, that's